Welcome to ChalkTalk, a series of videos where we explain complicated technologies with just one chalkboard. In this final video, we'll look at the common mistakes being made while implementing Varnish. You'll notice the chalkboard is very similar to the last one, because this is the area where we see most of those mistakes being made. This is the hashing engine. This is the part where Varnish looks at the input versus the output of the hash. And if the input is the same, the hash will be the same, and a cached page can be returned. If you look at the input, the common pieces of input are cookies, and those cookies are the number one mistake or number one problem we see being made in Varnish. For instance, session IDs. This isn't just limited to PHP. Same happens in Ruby, Perl, you name it, where frameworks often, as a convenience, automatically initialize a session. A session is a random cookie being set on every visitor to uniquely identify him or her. But unique session also means a unique input for the hash and a unique hash as a result. So just by adding that convenience, you get random pages or random cookies which result in random hashes and just destroy your cache entirely, because my hash will be different than that of my colleague and that of you. To fix this, in the case of sessions, you can do something called lazy session initialization, which means you don't initialize the session on every page load, you just initialize it whenever you need that particular session. For instance, if you have a web shop, you can add it when you add something to the basket or when you go to a checkout page. Don't add it for browsing categories or just random pages, because it doesn't really add value there. Additionally, we see random data being added to cookies all the time. As a developer, it is very convenient to just add data in a cookie that you might reuse later on, but that gets set on the client side, and for every new request, that info will be sent back to the server. That means it will be used as the input for determining that hash of the page, and just adding a cookie or adding or modifying the data of a cookie will change the hash. Just adding one cookie can triple or quadruple the size of your cache, because there are multiple permutations, multiple versions of that page in existence. So keep those cookies as clean as possible, only initialize sessions when you need it, and you will eliminate most of the problems we see with cookies being set. Additionally, URL parameters are sometimes difficult to fix, but should be a piece of caution, because adding random URL parameters can also be useful as a developer. For instance, you want to track something client-side with Google Analytics, but each and every change in the URL will create a different page. So just adding a tracking ID for your different visitors after a newsletter will make each of those newsletters, those clicks, unique within Varnish, and it will destroy your caching. Keep this in mind, and 9 times out of 10 you'll have a solid experience implementing Varnish. How do you troubleshoot this? How do you see what you put in versus what you get out, and if your caching works? If you look at the end result, so something comes into the cache and gets sent back to your client, that end result will have cookies added or headers added to it. If you go into your browser, you right-click the page, doesn't matter where, you go to Inspect Element and you take the Network tab at the bottom, you can look at the headers being returned for every piece or every resource being sent back. So you can look at the headers of the main page, but you can also look at the headers of your CSS, JavaScript, your images, etc. Each of those will probably have a header called the cache control, and cache control will determine to Varnish, can I cache this or can't I cache this? If the cache control says this resource is private, Varnish will interpret this as, oh, this is a unique resource, I cannot and never will cache this page. On the other hand, if the cache control header says this is a public resource, it can additionally say for how long Varnish can cache this. Technically, this indicates how long the client, the browser, can cache this, but Varnish will also listen to this header. So in this case, the header will set or determine to Varnish, you can cache this particular page for 1 hour, 3,600 seconds. How do you know if something is being cached? That's where the H or the X cache header come in. If you see an H header, you know that the particular page you got back, in this case, has existed for 256 seconds within Varnish. So the resource isn't fresh, it has been sitting in the cache for a couple of minutes. And the X cache header, which can be added optionally, can make this more clear. Was this a cache hit or was this a cache miss? On top of that, you will probably notice this as well. If a page comes back within, say, 50 milliseconds, it's probably a cached page. If it took a couple of seconds, it'll definitely not be a cached page. So you can look at the resource headers or the headers on each page to see, has this page been cached? And if so, for how long? And if not, look at cache control headers, or look at which cookies are being sent back from the application to determine what might be the reason. Because if you remember, every cookie being set will be stored on the client side, used within the hash to determine that hash itself. As a result, every cookie you set will just trigger this entire engine again and destroy that caching experience. To summarize, keep in mind the cookies, the headers, or the URLs, and look at the headers in the response to determine if or when a particular page has been cached. That's it for our series on Varnish. Talk to you next time.